Hi friends, welcome to Lean Factory. This is Anant, your lean manufacturing consultant. Earlier, we had done a lot of industry specific videos where we spoke about the key processes of those industries, then what are the common challenges faced by the industries, and then what are the solutions that can be applied to reduce those challenges. And in that particular series, today we are going to talk about leather footwear industries. Come, let's get started. Before we look at the in the key processes and the challenges, I want to give a quick overview of the Indian leather footwear industry scenario. To start, most of these units are export oriented units. That is, the buyers or the customers would be another businesses who are primarily located in Europe or US, and these companies in India, they manufacture the shoes and they send to those customers. So it's all export oriented industries in India as of now. But yes, there is a growing domestic market where we have companies like Bata, Red Tape, other companies who are focusing on Indian markets also. But predominantly, most of the leather footwear companies are all export oriented units, and that's the overall scenario. And second one is the industry operates in a cluster based model. If you look at South India, predominantly a lot of leather shoe companies are there in Ranipet, Ambur, Vellore region. In Chennai, there is a little bit of tanneries. Small units are present currently, Krompet, Pallavaram region. But in South India, primarily, if you look at Ranipet, Ambur, Vellore, that is a major hub for leather shoe manufacturing. If you look at North India, we have Lucknow, Kanpur, Agra. Those are the various centers for manufacturing leather footwear. And we have in Calcutta, we have a lot of tanneries. Nowadays, due to this environment related issues, a lot of companies have moved to Calcutta for setting their tanneries in Calcutta. So that is happening in North India. And if you look at the manpower situation, most of these units are labor oriented units, and predominantly a lot of women employees are present in those units. And to give an overview, the leather is processed in tannery. So the tanneries get the leather from the sources, and then there are a lot of processes like pickling. Then there are a lot of salts, chromium, a lot of chemical processes are happening, and then it is converted into wet glue, and then it goes into finished leather, right? So the output of the tannery will be finished leather, and those finished leathers would be used for various value added products, and one of those value added products is the shoes. And we have other products like bags, wallets, jackets, leather jackets, then belts are there, accessories, a lot of other accessories are there for leather. For this particular presentation, we are going to focus only on the leather footwear industries, right? So in this particular video, we are going to talk about three major things. One is the key processes. Second one is the various challenges faced by the units in the leather footwear sector, and then what are some of the improvement activities that can be done in those units. So the first part is the key processes. What are the processes? The first process in a leather shoe manufacturing is cutting, or clicking. People generally in industry, they also say clicking. So it is done by using a clicking machine. There will be a die. A die will be prepared, for the shape which we need to cut. Using that die, the operator will do the clicking activity. So it's like a press, right? A press which goes and cuts the leather. So the leather should be given as input, and then the die will be placed on the leather, and then they cut it. That's a cutting activity. A leather shoe pair will have at least like 10 to 20 different cut components, right? So those cut components have to be cut independently, right? And they have to be made as a kit, and it will be taken to the next stage, right? And the second process is skiving. Skiving is an interesting activity where, right, we will reduce the thickness of the leather so that two leather pieces can be overlapped, right? If we don't reduce the thickness, right, and if we overlap two leather pieces, then the overall thickness will be doubled, right? So you cannot stitch it, and it will not be in a proper finish. So what we need to do, we need to skive it. We need to remove some of the thickness from the leather so that two overlapping pieces can be in the same thickness, right? So this is an interesting activity which leather industries, they do, skiving activity. And then we have stamping activity where people will emboss the company logo, the brand name, or they also do some stamping for the numbering system, right? They internally, they have a serial number. So that also people used to stamp. It's again a press like activity where they will impress, with a machine they do the impression. That is called as a stamping activity. And then we have closing or stitching activity. If you look at a shoe, there are two distinct portions in a shoe. The bottom portion is called the sole, and then the upper portion is called as upper, right? So all these leather cutting pieces, all those things will go into the upper portion. So we call it a shoe upper. So the upper portion has to be completed first, right? So there will be a lot of stitching activity, right? The leather pieces has to be stitched, together to form a leather shoe. So that activity will happen in stitching activities. And then we have the sole attaching. Again, in this sole attaching stitching activity, there will be multiple small elements. The operations will be there, right? So sole attaching is when the sole goes and gets attached with the shoe, full shoe. And finally, the finishing activity where people do the buffing, the finishing activity, and then it is packed and sent to the customer. So these are all some of the key processes in the leather footwear industry. And what are some of the challenges faced by the units in the leather footwear sector? The first one is very high inventory in stores, especially with the leather, because the leather is processed in the tanneries, and what the tanneries will do is they will prepare the entire batch in one shot, because they will want to avoid the shade variation. Because if it is a particular color of leather, the entire lot should be in the same color. So what the tanneries do is they prepare the leather in the same batch, right, and they send it in bulk quantities. So usually there will be a lot of leather stock in the leather store. The same case with the accessories also. There are some accessories which are order specific, and supplying company, they will do the entire order in one shot, and they will send it to the company. So we get the materials in bulk and it will be stored in the stores. So very high inventory in the stores. That is one common challenge. Second one is many units they process in batches, especially in cutting department, because the clicking activity, we have to cut the individual components, right? So typically it happens in batch processing. The batch size also will be like 30 pieces or 50 pieces, which means for one pair, if you consider 20 pieces in a pair, so 20 into 30, right, there will be like 600 pieces in a tray, and that has to move to the next stage. So the high batch size will increase the high WAP. That is the third main challenge which I have noted. High work in progress is a big challenge in many leather companies. The fourth one is quality issues in cutting, in stitching, and finishing, right? Leather being a natural product, right, there will be some some holes, some damages, some looseness, some tightening, and there are a lot of this manual intervention which is required during cutting. The cutter cannot just keep the dies and go on cutting. He or she has to place the die in such a way that the cut piece should match with the entire the shoe pair. The grains should match. If there is no matching of the grains, then it will become a problem. So that is also an issue. And in stitching, the common challenges are like the quality issues like improper stitching, poor quality of thread, and the stitching worn out, all those things, that is an issue. Similarly with finishing also, there are a lot of finishing defects, like improper finishing. And because of all these issues, batch processing, high WAP, and quality issues, what happens is many of the companies, they do overtime, they do Sunday work, and even with all these things, they will not be able to deliver on time, right? The customer requires the shoe orders at a particular week, and most of the time they delay it, and because of that delay, sometimes there will be air shipment, sometimes there will be penalties, right? So that is these are all some of the challenges faced by the companies in this particular industry. And what are the various improvement activities we can do to reduce those challenges? I'm looking at three major improvement activities. The first one is reducing the inventory, right? If you look at the inventory, there it can be classified into two major heads. One is leather and also the accessories. And even in both these cases, we can always see there is a pattern, right? Your top 20% of items contributing to 80% of the value. So we call it as an ABC analysis. This ABC analysis can be done, and you can reduce the inventory. There are some orders which are running throughout the years. For example, in men's shoes, for example, there will be black color, brown, and tan. These are all the fast moving colors, right? Regularly there will be requirement. The same thing with the accessories. Some colors of threads, like black color thread, brown, tan color threads, then the laces, all those things are regular moving items. So these items can be managed in a reorder level based system, and only order specific items can be ordered from the suppliers. So that can be done to reduce the inventory. And the second one is creating a continuous flow or reducing the WAP. When I say continuous flow, I'm not insisting on single piece flow here, right? In other industries we can follow single piece flow, but for leather industry, because the cutting is still a clicking activity, which there is a manual intervention and there is a delay because there is a checking involved. So what we look at is a small batch production. Small batch means currently if the batch size is 50, right, in your company, can you bring it to 20, right? At least half of your current batch size, if you can try, it will reduce a lot of WAP and it will increase the overall flow in the lines, right? In many companies, stitching and lasting activity, that is a sole attaching activity, that will be done in conveyors. But there are some companies in North India I have seen, they still do in batch production. In South, most of the companies, they moved to a conveyor system. The stitching and the sole attaching area will be in conveyors. So there the WAP will be reduced. But in cutting, it's predominantly batch production. So what you can do is you can reduce the batch size and improve the flow. That is one major activity which you can do. And the third one is improving the quality. Here the first point which I want to mention is the training part. Most of the employees in the leather footwear companies are all women employees, and predominantly they're from poor socio-economic background. So there is a lack of awareness of the best practices. That is one core thing. And second one is, even the supervisors or in charges, they're all people who were earlier worked as an operator, right? Because of their experience, they became the supervisors or in charges. So there also the awareness is low. So what we can do is give the proper training to those employees on the requirements of the customer. It can be created as a one-point lesson, like before, after, or this is what we need to do, like good and bad. Visual training can be done, right? The trainings can be done visually, and the parts can be displayed in the shop floor. Those kind of things can improve the quality. And second one is self-check. The operators have to check their components before sending it to the next stage. So that can be done. In garment industry, many companies are focusing on the self-check. That will reduce the defects. So these two things can be done for improving the quality. So these are all the improvement activities that can be done in leather footwear industries. Thank you very much for watching this particular video. Please subscribe to our channel so that you can learn a lot about manufacturing industry, and you can also share it with your friends and company employees. And before I forget, you can also join our free Lean Champion course, where we cover the basics of Lean in a very, very simple and easy to understand manner, so that you can go and start applying this Lean in your company, and you can reduce a lot of waste in your company and improve the productivity and quality of your units. I have given the link in the description, so you can use that link to join this free Lean Champion course. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. See you. Bye.